Hi, I'm Matt here in Michigan.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. Today, Matt and I are continuing our summer series with the 2015 film Point Break. Okay, I'm just kidding, guys. We're not really going to do the 2015 Point Break.
Fool you!
We're going to do the original 1991 Point Break. It stars Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, Gary Busey, and Lori Petty. This whole absurd film has the premise of an FBI agent going undercover with a group of surfers who just might be the bank robbers known as the ex-presidents. And it is all directed by Catherine Bigelow, most famously probably known for Zero Dark 30 and The Hurt Locker, which she's won Oscars for.
Yeah, this film cost about $24 million to make and made $83.5 million at the box office. Came out about the same time as Bigelow's then husband's big film, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And it's a kind of interesting tidbit here that Bigelow and Cameron actually helped co-write this script. Critics gave this film mostly mixed reviews or average reviews, but as you can see from the box office numbers, it was well received by audiences.
Yeah, it's an interesting film to take a look back on. Watching it now, it's a whole slew of things that constantly reference this kind of classic or maybe almost cult classic film. Uh, Obviously, one of the most recent and most well known look backs on this, or not really look backs, but films that takes this and looks at it nostalgically. Just, blah, 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 blah. One of the movies that really takes a look at this film kind of from a nostalgic standpoint and mentions it often is Hot Fuzz. They make fun of the shooting the gun in the air. And Nick Frost's character is definitely a big gung ho guy. He has this quib where he talks about the difference, Bad Boys 2 and Point Break.
Point Break or Bad Boys 2?
Which one do you think I prefer?
No, I mean, which one do you want to watch first?
It's definitely got a bit of a cult status at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting too. We joked about the 2015 remake at the top of this. I didn't even realize there was a 2015 remake until before I watched this movie. I'm like, oh yeah, I think we're doing the 91 one. I'm pretty sure we're doing the 91 one. But
well, we wouldn't put the 2015 one on our schedule.
I haven't seen it yet, and actually, this is the first time I've seen this one too. And I'm glad you mentioned the Hot Fuzz, because that's really all I knew about this movie was the Hot Fuzz reference, and of course the presidents being the bank robbers in this film. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, to me, this is your typical 80s, 90s undercover cop action movie. And honestly, it kind of reminded me a bit of Fast and the Furious, but instead of like car racing and stuff, we have surfers instead.
I agree, and I think that probably you're not the first person to make that comparison to Fast and the Furious, because it is the same plot. It's just here's an FBI agent, he's going undercover. It's just instead of servers, it's with cars, and as weird as it is, this one's way more absurd because this one goes way more into that surfer culture. And Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze both learned to surf for this movie. Patrick Swayze broke like 4 ribs doing this. It's crazy. He's like, I never did I always do all my own stunts on land, so I guess I'll do all my own stunts in the movie too, even though the water stunts. So I do find that from a 90s perspective that I don't think that the film is as bombastic or as interesting to watch as some other 1990s action films, though, like say for like True Lies, for example, which is a James Cameron film, as it turns out as well, or like you had mentioned, Terminator 2. This is a different type of character film, and I really enjoy watching Gary Busey and Patrick Swayze be typed against cast. Patrick Swayze plays the bad guy in this. Gary Busey doesn't get to be like ultimate crazy or anything. He's just there, and then you have Keanu Reeves, he's Keanu Reeves. He's what you're getting.
Well, it's kind of interesting too with Keanu Reeves. He actually got quite a few accolades for this movie from some of the critics saying that they didn't expect him to be able to do a more serious acting coming from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and stuff. So they were pretty surprised by how he did. Me, I thought at the beginning it was a little stale. He basically was going through a whole bunch of exposition at the beginning, explaining his backstory and like how the FBI runs. I think he loosened up a little bit more later on the film. So one thing I didn't realize before is there's actually some like plays of this film, and what they do is they actually pull someone from the audience to read Keanu's character's lines in this as kind of like a joke about the movie on how, you know, even if you don't know the script, you could just kind of read off the lines and the whole rest of the play could go on.
Oh man, I don't want to like be overly mean, but some of the critics definitely pointed out that they liked the play between Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze, and I just thought Keanu Reeves was just very, very flat and very, very wooden in this film. For me, it's all about Patrick Swayze's character, and he is just this ultimate surfer dude who happens to be the leader of a gang of bank robbers known as the ex-presidents because they wear Tricky Dick's masks and Reagan masks and Carter masks and LBJ masks, and you know they're actually kind of famous for making ex-presidents masks famous, which is it's just crazy to think that that kind of came from this movie. His character says in this film that it's not about the money. He's just trying to show people that you can still live a life, that you don't have to be this monotonous ant basically that goes about, you know, your daily grind. Go out and live your life to the fullest, and who cares? My biggest problem is that like he says that, and that's what they're trying to set the character up for, but really, it's like Die Hard. It all just comes down to it's all for the money. You're just stealing for the money. Or sorry, I should say Die Hard with a Vengeance. Honestly, you know, you're not trying to get back. You don't care about anything but the money, really.
Yeah, big part of this film is Patrick Swayze kind of trying to win Keanu Reeves' character over to his side. He sees, I guess, his internal strength, or that he will push the boundaries to get things done, not at first realizing that that's because he's an FBI agent, but basically looking past his job and in his inner soul. And there's a question in this film, is he going to join them, or is he going to stick to doing what he knows is right by the law? And that's why I think I find some parallels with like the Fast and the Furious, because I feel like that's kind of like the same thing that they were going with in that film. Is he gonna stick with being with the law, or is he gonna go on to these criminals that he's actually aligning himself with a little bit in the film?
Or are they going to reboot the entire series 3 films from now and nothing mattered?
Nothing mattered at all.
Well, don't worry, that's not what happened with Point Break, because it's basically a standalone film. I will give Patrick Swayze's character credit for the fact that he is this adrenaline junkie, which is what I think you're getting at, and he just pushes the boundaries. And then in the final bank robbery, he tells them to go to the vault, and they know they never go to the vault because it's dangerous, it takes time, and it ends up being their downfall. He always has to find that next level of adrenaline, and he gets, you know, bankrolled by basically, you know, hitting all these banks for the past 3 years. And like you said, playing to Keanu Reeves' character and saying, your regimented life, your FBI life is what we're fighting against. And Keanu Reeves' character, I would say, comes a lot further along towards their way of thinking, because near the end of the film, he gets asked,
Still surfing? Every day.
He does see some of the appeal, and like when they go skydiving, it is exhilarating to him. He loves it. It's like the best thing that he's ever experienced. So like he can see and can get some of the stuff that's going on in Swayze's character's mind, Bodhi, but he still believes in some form of the law, or at least getting back. Like, you can't get away with what you did.
I think Keanu's character's big turning point might be that scene that we referenced at the beginning that Hot Fuzz references too, when he has a chance to shoot Bodhi who's trying to escape her, and instead of firing at him to wound him, kill him, or take him into custody, he just fires shots in the air. Of course, Gary Busey's character goes at him is like, you don't miss. Like, you say you missed, but you don't miss.
Yeah, which they set up. It's literally the first scene in the movie where Keanu Reeves' character is at the gun range, and he has a 100% accuracy rating. He literally doesn't miss. And it's all reported, and Gary Busey's character is like, listen, I know you don't miss. So that's really good foreshadowing from that perspective, because you just think, oh, it's just Keanu Reeves at a gun range. Who cares?
Yeah, we're just trying to show he's a badass, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing somersaults, with his gun to get behind barrels and shoot those targets that don't move and stuff, all while he's being timed.
So the only other major character that we haven't really touched on much is the female love interest in this. I think that Lori Petty does a very good job with it, but there's not a ton there. At the end of it, she just kind of ends up being a your standard issue DID.
I'm a damsel. I'm in distress. I can handle this.
That was kind of disappointing what they did with her character, where she's just this innocent bystander almost in the crosshairs of all of this, just to get Keanu's character to do something. I thought it was kind of like, this movie's full of tropes, and then it's like it's gonna pile on the ultimate trope: put a damsel in distress.
Yeah, she was his in to get into the surfing group, and then she also is kind of like the conscious saying, hey, you shouldn't completely trust Swayze's character because he's this wild guy. I know because I used to date him. I don't date him anymore because of these reasons. And then I found it kind of strange at the end where she finds out that he's an FBI agent. She gets, understandably upset, shoots at him or shoots the bed that he's laying in, and then we go at the end, she's just happy to be with him. Maybe it's because she was held in captivity and she's basically happy to see anyone that could be somewhat of a friendly face, but at that time it's like she's like all in his arms and stuff, like gonna say like I love you, and then Keanu does the whole
Some other time.
I think Petty did a good job, though, with what she was given, but I agree with you. I don't know that it was the best overall character.
That gets us right up to the ending, and I'm going to be honest, I don't like the ending of this film. For number one, there's like 2 or 3 of them. You just like, okay, is this where it ends? No, there it goes on.
Would you let Swayze go out on the surfboard at the end? Is that what you would do?
No, but that's me. But I can see where Keanu's character has come to the point where he's like, he knows, A, he literally couldn't get away, and B, he's not going to come back. He would rather die doing what he loves than be caught and captured in a cell. But really, like, what I want to talk about is, when Keanu's character saves Petty's character, and they have this big hug it out, and they're in the middle of, just over the border in Mexico, he is now an accomplice to, the murder of a cop and a bank robbery. His partner, Gary Busey, is shot and killed. And really, the only witness that says that his character is still a good and rightful FBI agent is Petty's character, who has a record. And I'm like, okay, so that's where I would have ended it. If I were a filmmaker, I would have just ended it there and said, all right, this is a choose your own ending. Do you think that he could be in good graces with the FBI after all that he's done, all that has happened? Because I don't. And then the film goes on and says, well, he's in good graces with the FBI and he's going to go find him, and he's been chasing after Patrick Swayze's character for months now. And I'm like, what? No, there's no way they'd let him back in and be doing this case again. No way.
The only person that really had his back through it was Gary Busey's character, and Gary Busey's character dies, which I was disappointed. I wish Gary Busey's character didn't die. But yes, they were going to arrest him when he was involved in the bank robbery as an accomplice that, like you said, led to that one officer's death. And Busey was the only one that pulled him out, and then he goes and kills him off.
Well, and really, just not trying to be super nitpicky, but nitpicky enough where the film has to make sense. So the FBI was, like you said, they were gonna bring him in. They're like, all right, you're an accomplice in this, and there's an off-duty police officer who just got killed. Like, that was enough to bring him in, and then Gary Busey and him go off by themselves, and he ends up dead. So from the FBI's perspective, what does that look like? Well, that totally looks like he betrayed Gary Busey's character. Like, here's this FBI agent portraying this FBI agent and then getting in a plane with the bad guys. You're going to take his word for it? No, you're not going to take his word for it.
I don't think Keanu's character ever told anyone either other than Busey's character that Petty was kidnapped. So
yeah, no
one in the FBI would know. And like you said, with her record and stuff, why would they believe either of them? As far as they're concerned, they both jumped out of a plane, and Keanu's character just happened to hurt his leg, and that's why he wasn't able to escape with Patrick Swayze's character.
Yeah. So for me, it's fun to look back on. It is an interesting film. It is definitely a cult classic. It has many different cultural references around it, but the ending just doesn't do it for me. It misses out on something.
One thing that is excellent about this film, I would say, is the surfing, since there is a bunch of, that's a focus, is surfing. I think the surfing scenes were good, and some of the action scenes that are in there are pretty good, too. Let us know what you guys think. Do you guys like Point Break? Is it the classic that a lot of people claim that it is? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe, too, to check out some of our other videos, and ring the bell. And check out our social media page on Facebook. We'll let you know a day ahead of which videos are coming out next. For now, I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a great day.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. See everyone later.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.